Before we speak to Tom Pelissero, NFL Network insider, Fritzy was going to recreate the call from Kevin Harland last night on TNT. This was the game-tying basket. So here's Kevin Harland with the call with Reggie Miller.
So here we go. 7 seconds remaining in regulation. 125.
Wait. I was going to play Kevin Harlan, and then play.
Simple mistake.
Yeah,
got a little over enthusiastic.
Okay,
it's okay. So it was like,
No problem.
did you see me when I pointed to Marvin? So then he would play the Kevin Harlan call.
I have an astigmatism. It kind of looked like you were pointing at me. I apologize. I don't have an astigmatism. I just wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
Indiana with it. Halliburton. He'll take it. He'll backpedal a three for the win. And he got it!
Okay. That's Kevin Harlan on TNT. Fritzy, your turn.
So here we go. 7 seconds remaining in regulation. 125, 123 New York. The Knicks led by as many as 17, by 14 with under 3, and by 9 with less than a minute. Halliburton trying to drive the lane. He's met by Mitchell Robinson, dives back out to take a three. It's good! It's good! Tyrese is being mobbed by his Pacer teammates as he does the Reggie Miller choke sign to the Knicks fans and the delight of my broadcast partner, Reggie Miller, courtside right here with me. They're going to take another look at it. It's only a 2. We're going to overtime. We'll pay some bills. This is the NBA on TNT.
Oh my God!
You are bright red. Take a breath.
Catch my breath now.
Take a breath. Tom Pelissero, NFL Network insider. You didn't know you were going to get that, did you, Tom?
You know, the verbal cadence, the speed, the number of words per second is dead on Kevin Harlan. I grew up watching Kevin Harlan calling Timberwolves games when they were absolutely awful from about 1989 to the mid-90s. And they'd be down 40 points, and Kevin McHale would be sitting next to Kevin eating popcorn on the air. The only thing I would say with Kevin, you're a little in the nose, Fritzy. I think you got to get it down. It's a little more down here when you do it. You got to be a little deeper in the throat. That's the only critique I would have. But again, beautiful, 9 out of 10.
Noted. Thank you.
All right. Okay. What happened yesterday late in the morning and Jason Kelsey's role in keeping the tush push in NFL vernacular?
It's hard to say how many people were actually swayed by anything that happened in the room, Dan. I would tell you the people I talked to before the meeting who told me we're going to vote to get rid of the tush push, they voted against it. The people who told me we're going to vote against this ban, they voted against the ban. But there was certainly, a compelling case. And, as I said, because I'm sitting there right outside the room and I see Jeffrey Lurie, a couple other Eagles officials, and Jason walking in. I said I go, Jeffrey, bringing in the big guns. He goes, absolutely. This was a very, orchestrated plan for them to counter some of the narratives that have been going around about, did Jason Kelsey actually like running this play? Was it actually a reason that he decided to, stop playing in the NFL? I'll tell you this, even though this did not pass, 22 out of 32 teams voted to ban it.
Yeah.
22, that's over 2/3 of the teams in the league voted to eliminate not just the tush push, but all push plays. In the end, it's 24. It's a high bar. It's supposed to be a high bar. They weren't able to pass it. What role would Kelsey and Lurie actually play? I know what the narratives are. I know what the quotes are that are out there. I got the sense this was always going to be close, but there was a sense going into the meeting that they thought, the people who were proponents thought they were going to have the votes. Ultimately, they came up too short.
Yeah, because I don't think the commissioner tables this and then brings it back without having the number of votes needed to get rid of it. That he clearly wants to get rid of it. If he has to nudge the Packers to say, put your name to this, that you want it out. And, if you're the Packers, you come off as, poor losers. Hey, we get beat by them. Now we don't want it in the league. And the point that I brought up earlier, if this is Carolina, does anybody care if Carolina can run this successfully? I mean, let's be honest. Does anybody object to them doing this if they were extremely successful?
if they're a 5-12 team, it's not the national phenomenon. I'm not being asked to go on the NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt to talk about the tush push if it's not run by a team that just won the Super Bowl. It's a different conversation. But I would say this, Dan, think about the number of health and safety related rules that have passed over, let's call it the last 2 decades. If you watch a tape, forget the 70s and 80s, you watch a game from the 90s, the early 2000s, it's completely different because of, the hits on defenseless receivers that you're not allowed to do now, where you're allowed to hit the quarterback, all the things that went into taking the crown of the helmet out of the game, trying to emphasize the spearing rules. They're all health and safety related changes. This is, and I've covered the league over 20 years, this is the first time that I can remember that you had the competition committee strongly in favor of a health and safety related ban on a play, that you had the medical committees, that you had the medical people with the NFL all saying this needs to be outlawed, and it did not pass. But this was also the first time that a rule was brought forth with health and safety related reasons to do it where there was no injury data. So that's the complicated part here is usually these health and safety rules, it's like a rubber stamp because it's, hey, we want to make the game safer. We want to avoid lawsuits. We want to avoid liability, all those things, but usually have injury data to back it up. In this case, what you're arguing is, hey, no injuries have occurred. It's been run, 120 times last year. So it's been run maybe 300 times in NFL history. But the biomechanics, the posture, the amount of mass and force, this could lead to something dangerous. That ultimately was not a compelling enough reason to get the 2 extra votes. Now we'll see. The NFL is a big data gathering operation. Whether it's from an injury perspective, from a how many times is this run, a success rate, all those things are going to go into, whether or not this potentially comes up again in 2026.
Yeah, it will. But I don't have a problem if the league says we don't have health data to get rid of this play. But unlike the kickoff, we want to be proactive, not reactive to this. We want to get out in front of this. It's just like, their player safety. I'm all for that. But I also think, just like with an onside kick, there's inherent danger when you play football. You sign up for this. And that's what I don't understand with the onside kick. I get, but it's football. Now you're kind of trying to bring it back. Now we want to have a few more kickoffs coming back. Like, it's either one or it's either this or nothing. Like, I don't think you can kind of go, not many guys got hurt on kickoffs last year that we thought, hey, how about we do this? Or the onside kick. How about you kick from the 34, not the 35? Like, what are we doing?
Well, with the onside kick is a function of the kickoff rule because of the alignment on the dynamic kickoff. You can't run an onside kick from that formation. So yes, you eliminate all the element of surprise, that's the baseline issue here. This is, realistically, there were 50 onside kicks last year, 3 got recovered. That's 6%. The historic rates are like 12%. So you're not thinking this is suddenly going to lead to, 20 more recoveries. You're just hoping you get a couple more. You see what happens here. But without the element of surprise, it makes things really, really difficult. There's not a clear answer. To go back to the broader kickoff issue, that was about you're trying to reduce the space and speed. It's physics is what it is. You're going, okay, last year they wanted the return rate to be really low to make sure that the injury rate went down. Now, okay, it seems like this is a positive change. So now let's change the touchback rule. Let's try to generate more returns and see if that continues to go forward. The NFL generally does these things very incrementally to make sure that it's not like the pass interference review disaster back in 2019 where they passed a rule before they wrote it and then nobody could enforce it. And finally they just went, forget it. We're just not going to overturn anything. That's what they want to avoid. Onside kick, though, there's not a clear answer here unless you really seriously consider the thing that Philadelphia has been proposing for the last probably 5-6 years, which is a 4th and 20, let's call it, alternative where it's one play, it's make it, take it. That would be a fundamental change to the game. There's some people who think it's gimmicky, but ultimately, Dan, that might be somewhere along the line where we end up.
Tom Pelissero, NFL Network Insider. You can see him on the Insiders on NFL Network. That's weeknights at 7 Eastern. Everybody's all excited about the Olympics. Everybody's ready to go. They want their medals. I'm just curious, the owners' reaction. Now, they had to pass this, but they also have to allow their players to be able to play or try out, I'm guessing. how does this work? If I'm an owner and Patrick Mahomes goes, man, I'd love to have a gold medal. Well, I'd love to have another Super Bowl, Patrick, so I don't want to risk you getting hurt. How does this work and not hurt feelings?
Well, I would say this, there's enthusiasm at every level of this from the stakeholders, from the league office who see this as part of their global expansion plans, to the teams that like the idea of, again, making more money, because if you can continue to increase international revenue, that's only going to help the value of your franchises. The players, for the most part, not everybody, there are some guys who have said, I'm not going to get involved with that. I don't make money to play flag football, but a lot of players are going to want to do it here. But I would say the NFLPA also has expressed, enthusiasm for this, but they still got to work out, Dan, some of these rules. There's questions about injury protections and insurance. And, even though this is going to happen in the early portion of the 2028 games, and so it's going to end before training camps, there's still going to be some players who go, wait, I'm using my whole off time, my whole spring and summer to get ready for this, and then I'm just going to plop down 2 days later and go into training camp. So there's some questions there. Unions defend wages, benefits, working conditions, and all those things are subject to further evaluation here. So those are going to be ongoing conversations. They're going to actually have to come to an agreement. There's like a round, okay, we like this idea. We all want to make more money. Let's work on this together. But the details still have to be worked out in terms of how the process works over the next few years. And I asked this question to a bunch of the people who've been involved in these conversations. Just like every other Olympic sport, there's like different qualifying things, and there are national teams. And you have this vision of, okay, you might have, let's say, forget Team USA for a second, because that's the team that's going to have the most options. But let's say you're Korea and you've got, hey, we can get Kyler Murray, we can get Kyle Hamilton, but we're not going to have him until 2028. Well, you're going to have to qualify before that. And if the current Korean national team isn't any good, those guys are going to get left out. So that stuff, from my understanding, really starts next year and then heats up in 2027. So this is going to be kind of an ongoing evolution in terms of, what does this look like? Every national body is going to approach this differently. I would certainly anticipate USA Football fully embraces this and wants all the NFL players, even though you've got, the current Team USA quarterback saying, I think I'm better than Patrick Mahomes. And I said that, so I had Justin Jefferson come on the Insiders the other night, and I brought that up. I'm like, you got this guy. I'm like, is there any doubt in your mind that NFL players can be better than the current flag players? He's like, well, man, they know the game, but beating out Patrick Mahomes, like, good luck, dude. Like, there's no way you're getting that spot from him.
Good to talk to you, Tom. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
That's Tom Pelissero. He's part of the NFL Network Insiders, weeknights at 7 Eastern. Although I will say, this quarterback who is, talking a big game, you play that style of football, flag football, differently. I'm not saying he's better than Patrick Mahomes. He might be better at flag football than Patrick Mahomes. As crazy as that's going to sound.
It's definitely a different game.
If you watch him play, you watch this guy play, it's now, to me, Jaden Daniels would be the guy. That would be my quarterback.
Yep.
Like, I want you to be running away from people, athletic. Mahomes is athletic. You're not running away from anybody. But we got a long way to go before we get there.